Hello everybody and welcome back. You are just in time for the first round of seed starting for the 2023 garden season. Now I have in my hand my trusty soil block and we're going to make good use out of this today because we are starting Lisianthus. That's always the first thing we start at the beginning of the year. And I had really good luck with them last year, so we are going to go much bigger with the Lisianthus this year. Now I have a good mix of varieties here in front of me. I have Voyage 2, I have a bunch of Arena 3, and I have a Dublini. I think that about covers it. Now the two that I grew last year were the Dublini White, which I have here, and I'm pretty sure the Voyage 2 Pink, and I have two of those this year. The Dublini White, these are really gorgeous, smaller flowered, but more flowers per stem. They were definitely my favorite. So I have a packet of 50 Dublini White. I have a packet of 50 Voyage 2 White, and then I have two packages of Voyage 2 Pink. And then the rest of them in front of me are Arena 3. So we have Arena 3 Apricot, and for some reason I got way more Arena 3 and I got bigger packets. Oh, I remember, they were on sale. I should have known, yeah. They were on sale. I picked these up in the fall. So we have 250 Arena 3 Red, 250 Arena 3 Apricot. I don't think I'm going to start all these today. And 500 Arena 3 Gold. And what I like about these this year is they have the germination rate on them. These are 92, 94, 96 on the Voyage White, and the lowest seems to be 87. That's the Dublini, that's too bad. The Dublini White and the Arena 3 Red are 87%, and it goes all the way up to 96. That's pretty good. Hopefully we can actually get that. So on to soil blocking. I've already mixed this up. This is just a sifted pro mix. It's nothing special. And I have pre-wet it to a good consistency. And that basically means that when you squeeze it, you can get a little bit of water out and it holds its shape. So other than that, all I have here is a small container, not too big because it doesn't take as much soil as you think to make these things. And my soil blocker, I should have shown you this before I got it all dirty, but this is the 3/4 inch soil blocker and it makes 20 at a time. And my container has a flat bottom, which you'll see why in a minute. Have to press it into the soil, and I have to hold it here because if you hold it on the top, you're going to be pushing the soil out as you're trying to fill in the squares, and that's going to work against you. So, I know this can get hard on your hands if you're doing a lot of it, but I'm not going to be making thousands of these at a time, so that looks pretty good. I like to go over it a couple of times because those corners can be a bit more difficult to fill, but that looks good. Do I want to fit 8? Yeah, I think I do. Beautiful. 2. It's just like anything else, you know, when you're trying something new, you sort of have to develop a feel for it. So I'm going to push these down, not too hard, but then I find before I lift this up, I have to unsqueeze it just a tiny bit, or some of those blocks can stay stuck in at the top. So there are my first 40, 80. There's the first 80, which means I'm going to get 160 blocks in each of these trays, and I'm going to fill 2 trays today, I think. So let's do the other side. So let's have a look at how long this takes in real time. We're going to do 4 more sets of these. And here's another small hint. If I lift it straight up, a bunch of that soil is going to stick to the bottom. So I'm rotating it like that. I'm going to give it a good press to make sure they're squeezed in, and then I'm going to move it as I lift it off so that all of that soil stays in the soil block where we want it. Yeah, I'm going to turn them this way. Do 1 press and carefully lift. So there's 1. And I never feel like I have to scrape off any excess off the bottom. A little extra soil on the bottom of these is only a good thing. There we are. There, so I have a toothpick and a small dish of water because these seeds are really, really tiny and they're hard to handle with your fingers, but they stick fairly well to a toothpick. I'm just trying to decide which one I'm going to start with. Arena 3, apricot, red, gold. Let's do Arena 3 gold. And yes, I'm going to do this entire 160 tray. If you can see that, that is just the very bottom of this container. Whoa, don't. I almost just poured that in my water. I'm going to put these in my hand. In the past, I have had two dishes, one for my seeds and one for my water. Same thing happened. I almost poured my seeds into the water. So I'm going to use this toothpick. And these pellet casings are white. Sometimes they're yellow. I don't really know if there's a difference. I think it's clay-based. It's basically just to make the seeds easier to handle because they are dust fine. They are so, so fine that it would be impossible to plant these individually, which is what we want to do with soil blocks. And I am not going to leave these in soil blocks right until planting time. They're going to be in here growing for close to 3 months. And in 3 months' time, those roots are going to need a lot more space than these tiny soil blocks. So I'm going to pot these up once, likely twice. I potted them up a little earlier last year than I had in the past, and I did see a big difference. And although I still haven't really mastered doing these really well, I did see a much bigger difference. This is going pretty quick though. I almost have 40 done already. Now for me as a home gardener years ago, my seed starting game really took off when I realized that I didn't have to keep the soil nearly as wet as I thought it did. In ideal conditions, the pore space, which is the air space in between the actual soil, should be half filled with air and half filled with water. So that means you don't want your seed starting medium to be completely soaking wet or there won't be any air or oxygen, and your seeds need that to germinate and grow just as much as they need the water. I can't forget to label these. This is Arena 3 Gold, so I can look back on my footage if I've forgotten, as it will likely be 6 months or more before I see flowers from these things, likely 7 to 8 if I'm honest. Why am I doing this again? 100. So while I'm doing this, if soil blocking is new to you, I'll talk to you a little bit about why I choose to do that, and the biggest reason is space saving. This is 3/4 inch soil blocks and I can fit 160 of them in this smaller than normal tray. If it's longer term, I don't have to waste seeds by putting multiple seeds in a cell to ensure one of them will germinate. I am only ever putting 1 seed per soil block. And when I bump them up into a cell tray, first of all, it's really quick because you can pick up these blocks individually, and you only are going to pot up the successful ones, of course. So any soil blocks that don't end up having a seedling in, I just toss them in the bucket that goes out to my compost. There we go. That is 160 Arena 3 Gold. So I'm going to keep going and I'm going to do another couple of trays of these and I'll see you shortly. It has now been 2 weeks or so, and I didn't even realize that I didn't finish this video until I started editing it. But the good news is that I can give you an update, and as you can see, we have had really good germination so far. Remember, these blocks are only 3/4 of an inch, so that gives you an idea of just how tiny these seedlings are. But each new set of leaves will be bigger than the last, even though they are slow growing. I ended up seeding 2 trays of Lisianthus, and I'm starting some more this week, but I also started a few eucalyptus at the same time. I wasn't going to start any, but I had an old 2-year-old seed packet with I think 25 seeds left in it that I wanted to use up. Looks like we have about 18 here that germinated. Now all of these soil blocks are going to get a half-strength fertilizer about twice a week. There's none in here with this watering, but they will get some in a few days. And I'll be checking these daily because they can dry out really fast, especially as the root system becomes more substantial. And at that point, I'll know that it's soon time to pot them up into cell trays. So there is your first seedling update. Today is February 1st, and I'm starting a whole lot more this week. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you very soon.